Okay, welcome everybody. We are a couple minutes before 3 o'clock Pacific time, so it's probably closer to 6 p.m. if you're on the East Coast, and anywhere in between. We're at the very bottom, getting near the top of the hour. So, yeah, in about a minute's time, we'll start with my first day of class #first day of classroom presentation. So, if you're new to Google Classroom, I'm going to share some of my experiences, my tips, tricks, best practices, and knowledge with you. So hopefully you glean something from what I've done with my students. So just a disclaimer, school's about to be let out pretty soon, probably about 10-15 minutes out here in Central California. And I may have the odd student come in my classroom and maybe turn in some work, ask me a quick question, but I have put a quiet sign so they know to be quiet when they walk in. If they're going to do some work, they're going to make it the occasional question. So I might be slightly interrupted, but it should not interfere with the flow of this session. So again, it's about 3 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and feel free to follow along. Go ahead and leave your messages in the group chat, and I'll do my best to try and keep up with that and answer your questions. My good friend at Google, Anita Flanagan, will be assisting me with that. So if I don't get to your questions, I will definitely get back to you when the session's over. Leave your contact information so I can answer your questions. So with no further ado, let's get the show on the road. It's kind of like Inception right there, but let's get to my slide deck. And here we go. So let's get started with your first day of classroom. So again, my name is Adam Wattis. I'm a world history teacher and technology coach in Orosi, California, which is about halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. I sit right at the foot of the Sierra Nevada mountains, right near the giant sequoias. Gives you kind of an idea of where I'm at. I can probably, in 30 minutes, I'm up with the largest trees in the world. You can connect with me through Twitter and Instagram at TechCoachWattis. That's my handle. You can also connect with me every week with my weekly Twitter chat called CB Tech Talk. It's every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, where we talk pedagogy and technology and how to intertwine them and really get your students to be creators, not just consumers of content. There you see the sticker for my Google Innovator project. It's called the Cardinal Innovation Center, which is where I'm broadcasting from right now. So if you have any questions about that, want to pick my brain, go ahead and do so. So no further ado, let's get moving. So first of all, what is Google Classroom? Well, Google Classroom, as it says here on the screen, it allows teachers to create classes, distribute assignments, send feedback. I made that bold for a reason. And see everything in one place. It's like a one-stop shop for your classroom. It's instant, it's paperless, it's easy. I look at Google Classroom and I think it's just this great filing system. I first heard Google Classroom being referred to as a great filing system when I listened to she's probably one of the foremost experts on Google Classroom, Alice Keeler. She in a keynote I heard her once say that it's just a great filing system. It's not an LMS. It's not a learning management system, but it files your work and that of students very, very easily. And it's probably, if you ask me, I'm a little biased, but it's probably the best one there on the market. And it works great in conjunction with Google Sites. You see I have a screenshot over here from one of my classrooms. What I do in the About tab, which kind of serves as your digital bulletin board. Thing is, the great thing about having this digital bulletin board, you can post things up there for kids to have easy reference to. If you put it in the stream, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, it's like Facebook. The older posts get pushed down at the bottom. You have to go fishing for it. If you put it on the About tab, it's always right there, like you put it on a bulletin board. Except you don't have to, nearly injure yourself sometimes when you have to. In your classroom, you kind of have to climb up and put things on the wall. It can be dangerous. I know I've almost killed myself a few times, but what I like to do with the About tab, I like to put a link to my classroom website. As you see right there, it works great because the Classroom website can serve different functions that Google Classroom does not. But it's a great place for kids to know how to get to Classroom. They know where to go in the About tab, and then they can click there and they can get much more information. So again, it works really well with Google Sites. So next we're going to talk about creating a class and how to invite students. This is the first most basic step of Google Classroom. So to create a class, when you go to classroom.google.com, or if you you can also navigate to it from your waffle from pretty much any of the Google apps. You click on your waffle and you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see Classroom somewhere. So there's a variety of ways to get to Classroom. That's one of the cool things about Google. They give you a variety of ways, usually sometimes 2-3 ways to access any of their products. So it's kind of cool that way. So once you get to your Google Classroom homepage, you take a look right about here. You'll see these kind of tiles here that represent each one of your classrooms. So this is kind of a default one here. It's not one that I made. It's part of the slide deck Google share with me. The ones I add, I'll point out, but they will look generally like this when you first start them. Now, to create a classroom, you're going to go to the plus button here at the top right corner, and you click on Create Class. So once you've created your class, this is kind of a quick screenshot of the banner of one of my classrooms. If you click back on this, we'll have to call it a hamburger menu. You click there, you click on My Classes, it'll take you back to see all the classes that you've created. So some best practices for me. I like to, when I create the class, it allows you to name it. So I like to add my name, my last name, to the classroom, because the students, they're going to have 6-7 Google Classrooms, and it helps them. A lot of students will be able to they kind of in their head, they kind of file things by teacher name. So if you put your name in there, it's going to help them find their classrooms a little bit easier. So if you look the official name of one of my classrooms, it always has my name right there, and they can see that up here as well, and it's really helpful for them. One of the newer features to Google Classroom is that as you have multiple classrooms, let's say you teach 7 periods, you may have 7 classrooms in there, and by default, it doesn't organize them probably the way you would like to. So now Google Classroom allows you to drag and drop these tiles right here. You can click on it, you hold it, and then you can drag them around into any kind of organizational pattern that you want. That helps you stay more organized. You can do it that way, or if you click Move right here, it'll allow you to order them in any order that you like. So that's one of the newer features that I've seen recently with Google Classroom. Now, inviting students. There is a couple ways to invite students. One of the ways is using a class code. Now, one of the newer features to Google Classroom is that when you first get started, using the class code is probably the easiest, fastest way to get students into your classroom. Even if a kid shows up late, all they need is the code, and they can join the class. So one of the newer features is that you can display the class code right here, almost full screen, so it's easy for them to see. I remember when I first started using Google Classroom, I'd have to write it up on the board. I had bad handwriting. So kids had a hard time sometimes getting the code correctly if they couldn't read my handwriting. Sometimes I would just project it on the screen, but then it's real small, because if you take a look on the Students tab right here, once you open up Classroom, you have 3 tabs: the Stream, the Students, and over to the right you would see About. The middle one is Students. If you click in there, it'll show you the class code, and you can change the code as much as you like. But it's kind of small font there, so if you project it, you have to zoom in, which is kind of easy with the Mac. But you sometimes you have to zooming in is just kind of a pain in the butt. And so what Google has done, they've allowed you to now show it almost full screen, so it's very easy for kids to see. So using the class code is the fastest, easiest way to do it. If a kid is added to your class late, just give them the code. All they got to do is use the code to get into the classroom. So you may be wondering, how do the students use the code? Well, we'll go back a few slides here. So just like when you go to classroom to start a class, the kids will do the same thing, and they will see here right here, join class. So they click join class right here, and they enter the code you give them to join their class. Pretty simple. One of the cool tricks I learned about a little over a year ago, someone tweeted out this template right here where you can create your own little badges here for each of your classrooms. So it's a Google Slides. It's through Google Slides. So all you got to do, I'm going to share this. I will be sharing this slide deck with you on my website. I'll leave a link for it at the end of the presentation. And if you get to this page, you click on this image, it'll take you to a Google Slides presentation where you can make a copy of it, and you have this template, and you can, make a copy of each slide and add the codes for each of your classes, and you can have them printed out and display them in your room. So kids who are, if they join, if they leave, if they join your class, you can have them easily see the code to get into your classroom. So again, right now school's getting out, so you may hear some students coming in and coming out of my room right now. So we'll do the best to kind of manage the ambient noise. So yeah, this is a cool little thing here. So I'll be sure to add my a link to this slide deck so you can access this link. Or just click right there on this picture, to give you access to that that slide deck. But again, the Students tab is where you always will find your class code. Another way, if you don't want to go through the trouble and print out this real simple idea, best practice for me, what I did in the beginning, I see a lot of teachers just write classroom codes on their whiteboard, and they put it up there next to their objectives and their essential standards, etc. And they just put the codes up there, and it serves the same purpose. So a lot of ways to get kids using the classroom code. Actually, before I move on, we'll also talk about a little bit about another way to get students into your classroom is also through email. If you click right here, once you're in the Student tab, Invite Students, you can add students via email. So it would open up access to your domain, and you can just type the students' names in and add them via email. It's a little bit more tedious, but all they have to do is once they check their email, they click on the invite and they're in. It's a little bit more work on your end, but if you have students maybe with some special needs, this might be the easiest way to get them in. So just another way to get a kid into your classroom. Now, as I said earlier, Google Classroom is a great filing system. As soon as you create a classroom, for the very first time, a classroom folder right here is made automatically in your Google Drive for you. You don't have to do it. And one of the beauties of it, it just organizes it for you. What it does, every time that you create a new classroom, a subfolder for that classroom, as you see right here from this screenshot, is made automatically in Classroom. And then every time you put an assignment, so if I assigned something to both period 1 and period 2 right here, if I put an assignment for the students to write a short essay, and what it would do, it would create a subfolder within both of these for that assignment. And then when I open up that folder, all the kids' work that's submitted is automatically placed in that folder for me to see. The kids can't see it, but I can see all the students' work. On the students' end, for that matter, what happens is that they will also get the same folders, except when they open the assignment folder in Google Drive, it's just their work they see. They don't see anybody else's. So that's been a question I've had teachers ask me in the past as far as privacy. So you don't have to worry about other kids seeing other kids' work. Managing assignments. First, creating assignments. So when you open up in your stream, you'll see a plus button in the bottom right corner of your screen. So you don't have to click on there, but you hover your mouse over, and then you get a bunch of options to ask a question, to reuse a post. You can also add an announcement, or you can add an assignment. So one of the ones you probably use the most, probably two that you use probably the most, will be assignment or announcement. Excuse me for a second. All right, sorry for the interruption. So when you go to an assignment or even an announcement, when you start it, before you can even, when you put your title, you put your instructions, you can put a due date. That's all pretty self-explanatory. Hold on one second.
If you are on campus, please come to the Career Center. Mr. Hamid, if you are on campus, please report to the Career Center.
Okay, sorry again for the interruption. We have a lot of announcements here after school. But if you click here, you can add that assignment or the announcement or the question to a more than one classroom. Oh, here we go again.
Zaira Ramos, please report to the front office. Zaira Ramos, please report to the front office.
All right, hopefully that kind of subsides. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do this tedious work over and over. So even the attachments you put, if you attach a file from Drive for kids to use, whichever ones you click on. So if in this case, this assignment is being assigned to period 1 and period 2. Both classes, every kid in those classes will have access to this assignment, and they will be assigned the work and the appropriate attachments. So one of the things that you really need to be aware of when you attach work to or like a document to an assignment is the permissions you give them. And you'll see a permissions button right here, and by default, it's usually viewing permissions. But if you want kids to work collaboratively, you click on edit. So what that means, they're going to edit your master copy. If you just want them to be able to look at it, let's say maybe it's an article for them to read, you give them viewing permissions. Now, if it's something that if you think on the lines of a digital worksheet that you want them to fill out without messing up your master copy, you can do make a copy for each student. So you make a master copy, just like you would if you went to the copy machine, and you click on this permission once you've added the document from Drive. And now when the students open the assignment, they'll see a copy of your master with their name on it already. And the thing is, when they start working on it, your master copy is saved. Now they have their own copy. And the cool thing is, was at the very top of the page, they'll see a turn in button. So when they're done, they click turn in, and it's submitted that easily. You don't have to worry about the dog eating their homework anymore. They lost the paper. It's all right there for them. So again, you have to be very cognizant of the permissions that you are giving them. So just to quickly review, viewing means they can just take a look. Edit means they can edit your master copy and make a copy for each student. It's like you passed out a piece of papers to each student with their name already on it. So one of my tips here that I would recommend is when to make something an assignment, when to make something an announcement. If you want kids to turn in work, make it an assignment. If you don't plan for them to turn in work, you just want them to share something, such as like a link, a file, a video, or an article, etc., use an announcement. One of the ways I use announcements, I do a lot of, I flip a lot of my lessons, so I have like 10 to 15 minute kind of lecture videos that I create, I screencast, and I don't expect kids to turn in work for that. I'm not big on collecting their notes, but what I do, I'll just make an announcement with a link to the video, and they click on the link, they watch the video, and they take their own physical notes. So just a kind of rule of thumb there. Now, assigning work to students or to a subset of students. Google has, this is a fairly recent development with Google Classroom, and this really helps differentiating your instruction. A lot of times we have students of different ability levels, and sometimes it makes going digital a little bit more difficult, because in the beginning of Google Classroom, what happened is that you could, what you did is you simply, when you assign something, it went to everybody. But that makes it difficult to differentiate. But now, if you click here on all students right there on that button, you can click which students will get that assignment. So if the kids who are being checked here, you see in this GIF, they're the ones who are going to see that assignment. So you could put 3 or 4 different assignments and assign them to 3 or 4 different groups of students. So this makes it very easy to differentiate your instruction. Tracking and grading student work. Let's take a look at that for a second. So what you see here on the screen is what you would look at when you're going through your stream and you click on an assignment that you put in. You click on it. This is what you're going to see for that assignment. And in this case, we we had the students. They were able to upload their essay to and turn it in for this assignment. And here on the right, you see these icons that show the work for each student. Now, take a look right here. It tells you how many are done, how many are not done. This is real time. So if I was sitting there and all right, turn in your work, I could watch those numbers change and fluctuate as kids turn their work in. It's pretty cool that way. So if I assign the work. Let's say that, for example, I gave an assignment and I gave them a document that I wanted them to write on, maybe a Google Doc, and I made a copy for each student. As soon as kids start working, I can open this page and I can click on any student's name there, anyone that I want. And once I click on their name, I can see what they're doing in real time. It's like I have a window into their computer. It's kind of cool that way. I don't have to be in the same room. I can be off campus, or I can be right there in the room, and immediately I can see if a student is kind of going off topic or not getting enough work done, or they've got a concept wrong. I can drop a comment right on their doc, or I can walk over to them and verbally give them some feedback. So that's pretty cool. It actually does help with your classroom management a little bit. I know a lot of times with if you don't have a system like GoGuardian that allows you to click on see every kid's Chromebook in the room, classroom kids can get off task. So you can, it's kind of another way you can kind of a window into each kid, and they know that they will know that, hey, I'm watching. And I can, some kids like that security, knowing, hey, if I mess up, the teacher could be watching and they can give me some instant feedback. So a really cool feature there when you track and grade students' work. Up here is the return button. After you've kind of assigned grades, you would go down here and you would assign a point value to each kid's, if you evaluated their work. You can assign the point value here. By default, it's 100 points, but you just click right here and you can change that point value to whatever you deem is appropriate. So once you've kind of evaluated the work, so you got these first 3 done, you can check their names and hit return, and the work is returned to them with the score that you've given them, and they have the ability, again, that's up to you, if you want to let them kind of review and resubmit their work. So a really cool way to manage the work here that you give to students through Google Classroom. So a single view of students' work. So you can, if you go to your Students tab and click on a student, it's going to show you all the assignments you've given them, what their scores were, and the students on their end, either on their mobile device or on their Chromebook, they can see, you know, all the assignments that they've been assigned and how they've done, if it's missing, what their score is, etc. This is, in my experience, this is not something that I use really often, but what it really has helped me with, it helps me see my own mistakes. There's those times where I'll mistakenly put in Google Classroom an assignment when it should have just been an announcement, and I have kids freaking out. Oh, they go, Mr. Wattis, it says here that this assignment's missing. I look over like, oh, you know what? That was just a link I was trying to share with you. You're not responsible to turn any work for that through Classroom. So it allows me to, if I click on a student, I can see very quickly, like, why is that kid missing work? I know that kid always does their work, and that's kind of odd. So when I look at it, I'm like, oh, you know what? That was my mistake. So in my experience, it's really helped me to see my mistakes. So again, sometimes I post things that are assignments when I should be posting announcements. So kids will see that, hey, if I'm missing work, if you have a kid who's on the ball, they're going to be kind of holding you a little bit accountable. So a cool little tool here. In addition, I know this GIF keeps on moving, but when you click on a student, if you look closely enough, you'll see that there's like a mail button up on the top. So then I click on Josh Cook there, and you have a mail button right here. So you click on mail, and you can send that student an email. So just another way to communicate with that student. Communicating with guardians, another, excuse me here.
Ms. Zalitsky, please call extension 7018. Ms. Zalitsky, please call extension 7018.
Okay, we're back. So communicating with guardians, so with parents, is a relatively new feature for Google Classroom, and I really like it. I actually used it today. I was looking at a student's grade, and I know the parent is she wants an A. And she said if they get anything less than an A, you need to contact me. So use this feature today to send a message and really update the parent. So communicating with guardians, the email summaries for parents and guardians is really cool. So actually, we have some screenshots here of one of my actual Google Classrooms, and I did, of course, for privacy, I blocked out the names. But if we take a look here, down here is the students tab, and right here you would see students' names. But you have this new function here that says invite guardians. Would you click there, and you're able to right here, if you collect parent emails, put the parent's email address in there, and they're going to get these summaries every week of what their students have been doing in class. So it's a pretty cool way to automate that your ability to communicate with parents. And communicating with parents sometimes can be it's not easy. This is one way Google Classroom makes it a lot easier for us. So I was able to go in here and I could see the parent's email, and what I was able to do is send that parent an email. It's pretty cool. So I can click on the student's name, I hit email, and I can email the guardian. That's one way to directly email them. It's another way to, again, foster that communication with parents. I have some parents, if you have those parents which can be quote unquote helicopter parents that want to be involved in the classroom, tell them, hey, not only will I add you as a guardian, if they have a Gmail account, now Google Classroom's open to non-EDU accounts. I can then add that parent as a student in my classroom. So if they really want to have a really good grasp of what's going on in your classroom, then add them as a student, and they can maybe do some of the work, and that will help them support their student and yourself as well. So just a tip that I thought I would share with you, but it's something that I advise people to use as often as they can. So just a few of my top tips and demos before we call it a day. One of my pet projects, I like to call it Ditch That Copier, and pretty much Ditch That Copier, the lifeblood of this kind of movement, I guess, that I've kind of started. If you're familiar with Ditch that textbook, like Matt Miller, is kind of where I got the idea, and I have spoken to Matt Miller. I gave him the sticker, so he thought it was cool. So don't think I'm ripping the guy off. I'm not really making any money off of it, but it's Ditch That Copier. It's all based off of Google Classroom. That's probably the most common tool that I use when I try to get people to get away from that copier and stop wasting your time and frustrating yourself making copies, especially when it breaks down or runs out of toner, or you have to wait in line for it, or you have to make more copies because students lose their work. So one of the ways that I like to use this, it's just a big giant app smash. And one of the apps that I like to use with Ditch That Copier is an app called DocHub. So one of the big movements where I work is marking of the text. So we give students articles. And me, I don't want to be spending all my days in my classroom budget passing out paper articles to students. If I have it saved on a PDF, I can distribute it to students using Google Classroom. All I got to do is make an assignment, attach that PDF file of the article to an assignment. All I have to do is give them viewing permissions. I don't have to make a copy for each student. When they open it, they can open it with DocHub, and now DocHub creates their own copy of that article. My original, my master copy, is safe. So it's a little bit different than using Google Docs, but simple enough anyways. So what you do, they open up with DocHub, and they have all these tools, as you can see right here. What they can do, there is a drawing tool right here, which allows them to circle, so it helps with the text marking. There is let's see, right about here is, let's see where to go. We have a highlighting tool. And right here, we have a stamp tool right here, but the thing is, there should be more words there. Right here, we have a whiteout tool. I think that's kind of cool. Right here, you have the text tool, which allows you to type text anywhere, draw a text box, and type anywhere on the article. So it's really good for having students mark the text and take notes, do some digital note-taking. So as soon as they're done, they can save all their edits into Google Drive, and once it's in Google Drive, they can then upload it. Oh, here we go again.
Teacher, just a friendly reminder,
the principal.
We have an ILC meeting today here in the staff lounge. Coaches and academy leads, just a friendly reminder, we have an ILC meeting today starting at 3:30. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So once they have it saved in the drive, then they can turn it in to the assignment you gave them in Google Classroom. And it just saved you that hassle of having to carry a bunch of papers back and forth from home that you're going to evaluate. It's right there on your computer. So that's one of my biggest tips, ways to use Google Classroom. If you're brand new to Google Classroom, you might want to get a little bit more comfortable with it before you try to ditch that copier and use DocHub. But when you're ready, reach out to me and I can give you a lot of ideas and resources to really help you achieve that goal. So just some resources to share with you. This is the first link there is an actual link to this slideshow. You use that short URL. And the next three are ones provided by Google themselves to help you with anything you need Google Classroom related. So I want to thank everyone for spending about a half hour with me and learning about Google Classroom. And please connect with me through Twitter. My Twitter handle is at TechCoachWattez. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. Here we go. You have to see my face one time. I think I need to shave a little bit, trim my beard. But yeah, if you have any questions, leave a comment in the comment section and leave your contact information, and I will do my best to connect with you and answer your questions. So I actually have to go to a meeting right now. I actually forgot about it, but I'm gonna fail forward and do my duty. So enjoy Google Classroom and look forward to connecting with you in the future.